Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to our Bloomington Chamber Town Talk program. My name is Brent Pavia. I'm the president of the Bloomington Chamber, which many of you know is an affiliate of the Minneapolis Regional Chamber. We're pleased to be here in person at Bloomington Civic Plaza, beautiful Bloomington Civic Plaza in the council chambers, so thank you to the city for allowing us to do this. Don't get any ideas, and I mean, because our elected officials feel more comfortable up here, but I think they like a challenge. Fair enough. I don't know if we could just start making decisions for the city. I know the mayor's in the audience. He's like, no. But we appreciate you being here. We're also live streaming this session, so appreciate all of you who are watching this today. Thanks to the city and all of you online. I want to take a moment before we get started to thank our sponsors. We really appreciate their support. Our presenting sponsors, CenterPoint Energy, Mall of America, Wells Fargo Bank, My Credit Union, and Xcel Energy, and our series sponsor, Donaldson. I'm going to come back to sponsorship later on, but right now let's give a little bit of a round of applause to our sponsors because we couldn't do this without them. Thank you. I'm going to introduce our speakers for today's presentation on the Bloomington Veterans Memorial. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time on their bios because I really want to get to the presentation, but if they want to talk a little bit about themselves, great. So we have Duane Brinkman and Terry Collins from the Bloomington Remembers Veterans Committee, Michael Bjornberg and Dan Yudchitz from Leo A. Daly, and Matthew Wrench from Damon Farmer. So now I think I'm going to turn it over to Terry to get the show on the road.
Maybe I didn't shower today. I don't know. Good morning. And thank you. We are awfully glad to be making a presentation on the Bloomington Veterans Memorial. It's been really a planning process that's been going on for about 4 years. And some of the folks that aren't up at the podium, I want to introduce. Mike Dardis, sitting right over there at the end, is our vice president. And Kate Blessing is one of our members at large. And a person who gets just about everything done as quickly as you can, and a lot of the materials that we're using today are because she worked so hard over the last week. I want to introduce you to Duane Brinkman, who is our treasurer, and I'm going to turn it over to Duane, and he's going to tell you a little bit of the history of Bloomington Remembers Veterans. Sir.
Thank you, Terry. Got to get this for short people. Gotcha.
Oops. Let's go backwards. There we go. No, we're doing this wrong. Oops. There we go.
No, one more.
No, that's right.
There you go. This project is being led by Bloomington Remembers Veterans in partnership with the City of Bloomington. The Bloomington Remembers Veterans Board consists of 12 members. They're all volunteer. 7 are veterans, with an additional 10 individuals that are supporting the organization as volunteers and advisors. Our mission statement is to design, build, and maintain a memorial to all veterans, their families of past, present, and future military conflicts. This is the timeline of our progress. This memorial became a project through the Vietnam War 50th Anniversary Commemorative Partnership that began in 2016 and ran for 3 years. In November of 2018, Bloomington Remembers Veterans was formed and applied for and received its 501c3 status. The City of Bloomington also granted approval for the memorial to be located on the east lawn of the Civic Plaza, which is the premier site in Bloomington, offering additional amenities, including a fountain. In February of 20, requests for qualifications were released. Then we had COVID, and we paused until November 2020, when the memorial design was selected and approved by City Council. We had 22 entries from artists and design teams from across the country. In January 21, a web developer was hired. April through August 2021, we did promotions at in-person events such as the Farmers Market, Music in the Parks, and Summerfest. In September through December, we had a media campaign with meetings with service clubs and the Chamber. Fundraising kicked off in January of 2022, and here we are today. The memorial design concept was chosen from a competitive process. The key themes design teams were to include in their design were honor, reflection, education, and community. From the 22 entries, we had 4 that were chosen to submit their design. A review panel consisting of 5 veterans and 2 city staff chose the final design. The group chose a design by Leo A. Daly to be constructed on the east lawn of Civic Plaza. We're going to now hand it over to our partners from Leo A. Daly and Damon Farber, who will talk about the design process for the memorial.
And now we're going to do the ceremonial handing off of the HDMI cord.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Got it. Good morning, everybody. We're honored to be here today and talk about this important memorial for Bloomington veterans. Leo A. Daly, which is our firm, is an international AE design firm. We have 10 offices across the U.S. and a staff of 800. We were formed in 1915, and we have a legacy of creating memorials for the United States. Oh, we're over there. Those memorials have been part of our history of our company, and even Mr. Daly takes great pride in what we do. They range from the World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C., all the way across the country to USS Arizona and Pearl Harbor. We also have the Firefighters Memorial at the Minnesota Capitol Mall. These are incredible pieces of our history, our legacy, and our portfolios, and we take great pride in them. As we formed our team, we were very excited to include Damon Farber, who we've worked with on many of our projects. So you have the support of the 800 people plus Damon Farber locally. These are the 3 people here you've already met. Myself, Senior Project Manager, Dan Yetchitz, our lead designer, and Matthew Wrench, Landscape Architect. My career, yes?
Could you speak indirectly?
Sure. I'm getting there too. Just to speak a little bit as I move forward, my career has been focused on the design and restoration of significant places across the United States. Those include Coffin Memorial Union on the Minnesota campus. They include the Minnesota State Capitol, Peavey Plaza downtown, St. Paul Union Depot, $500 million in construction at the University of Notre Dame, currently working on the Air Force Academy Chapel restoration and repair. American Swedish Institute. These are all institutions, historic Fort Snelling, that have a deep memory and stories. I've learned a lot from these places, and to learn the value of memory and stories as we move forward. So you might ask, why would I want to pull together a team when I saw the Bloomington Memorial competition? My early memories were living at 9037 Emerson. Until I was the oldest of 9. We eventually outgrew that house, but I remember playing at Moore Park. I remember going to Knothole games at Met Stadium. So this has always been a very important place to me in my memory. And part of the memorial on this would be my father would have a place on this as well for serving. So it was a really exciting opportunity for me, and we moved forward. So these are some of my memories. They painted the house, though. And our process, we worked internally to try to understand what this was. So what we did was we opened it up to the entire company. We did 2 sessions, design sessions, just to find ideas from people and solicit those ideas. Out of 800 people, 350 people participated. And those were all veterans as well as just people who were interested in this process. We learned a lot from that. And we weren't done just soliciting that input here. We also are doing that in events like this and trying to understand better what the city of Bloomington wants specifically for theirs. This is some shots of that. We had some early design ideas. People submitted design ideas. And I think one of the big things we came away from that was other veterans telling us it's about service. And service isn't just those who go to serve. Service is those who help those who serve as well. It isn't just about the person who takes up the arms. It's about the person who maybe packs the parachute or works on the plane or supports in any way possible. So you have family that support those who serve, and you have those who serve. And that became a foundation of how we looked at this memorial. And that came from our feedback from people who had served and participated. It was pretty powerful. So different ideas that are shared here of what that memorial might look like, what other memorials were, what is a memorial. We had a lot of discussions about what is a memorial. These are some of the things that we heard. Veterans aren't just those who went overseas in a recent conflict. Military vets are technicians, mechanics, computer operators, doctors, nurses, supply clerks, heavy equipment operators, educators, engineers, all races, all religions, all creeds. So that told us it wants to be very inclusive. There's just many powerful things. A memorial can be more than just a place of remembrance, but also one of reflection. Just thinking about it, thinking about those who served and didn't come back, thinking about the roles you played in that service. And then a sense of family atmosphere. Not only do you have a family back in the States, but also form a family when you're in the military with your shipmates and crew members. So a way to be able to reflect upon those others who served and how we remember them as well. It was a really profound experience for us. So that was the start of it, and we wanted to make sure as we move forward, and this is what we talked about when we interviewed, is engaging with the community, participating in veterans events, the vehicle partnerships. Some of this was impacted, obviously, by COVID, Zoom sessions for feedback, and compiling a summary of what we had heard from Bloomington. And then also is, there was a stated budget and trying to help understand how we build it right. We completed a project on the Minnesota Capitol Mall where we repaired and restored the memorials across the mall. And we learned a lot from that. We learned you need to build it right so that it lasts a long time, so it doesn't end up something that's broken down and just doesn't feel that respect. So we built an initial budget for this project, and we looked at what are the appropriate allowances, what constitutes stewardship and longevity, minimizing ongoing maintenance. Some of the memorials can be very difficult to maintain in a long term, and then adaptability to the change. We learn a lot through the course of some of these memorials, what is appropriate and what's probably not so much. Planning for longevity, here's one, solid marble materials. This one's the Vietnam Veterans Memorial on the Minnesota Mall. You can see the reflection of the Capitol with the names of those who served. Very powerful experience. This is what happens when things aren't made for longevity. This was the suffrage monument when we also repaired. But you can see where things maybe aren't correctly made. It was originally intended to be stone, became concrete because of budget cuts. Just trying to really understand how you build things right. Some things last better outside. A gun off a ship is maybe easier to maintain when you have people on the ship maintaining it than it is sitting out on a mall. So, we need to think about these things. In-ground lighting that did not last the test of time. are there better ways to do that? So this experience of repairing those was very helpful for us as we move forward into this one. So now I'm going to turn it over to Matt, who's going to talk about the process we went through as we looked at the site and evaluated it. Matt.
Good morning, everyone. Want to make sure we have the microphone here so you can hear me okay? All right, sounds great. So the kind of the next step in the process, the pre-design process that we looked at was getting in depth into the site, the existing site. What is out here, and what opportunities do we have that we can capture and build upon to make a very iconic memorial? And obviously, the Bloomington Civic Center site is the perfect home for this Veterans Memorial. We've got a beautiful, long, giant lawn, a lot of vision into this area. And as we started to drill down a little bit more and take a step back, we started looking at some of the existing details that are out there right now. What's going on with the sidewalks, what's going on with circulation, what are some of the details in the architecture that could start to inform what our design would be for the memorial. And we went through sort of a list of words, and some of these things really stood out more in terms of translation to the site. And of course, honor is the biggest part of this list. So we really wanted to know, how can we start to get honor transferred into the existing site? So as we assessed it some more, we talked about view sheds from the building out to the lawn. We talked about entry points to where the memorial could be, where parking is at, where that's located. And then you have users in the building who are here 8+ hours a day working here. How are they going to interact with the memorial? We have folks at night who are using the facility also, and how do they start to use that site? So we have a lot of casual and passive daily use, but then we also have event use, where we have the farmers market in the parking lot, so we have weekend users coming in. So we had to consider all of that. And so we talked about the natural progression of how users go to the site. So they start off in the parking lot, and then we have an entry node that we have sidewalks, we have some trees, and then we have a very pronounced north and south access that leads us to the lawn. We have the water feature off to that direction. And then at the very end of the north-south access, we have an outdoor room. So that sets up for a very strong relationship from the street to the outdoor room. And we think about that access as being a journey. And from that, I'm going to turn it over to Dan.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Dan Judschitz, and my role on this project and my role in our office here in Minneapolis is as the design director. And a lot of what a design director does is taking the vision of others and trying to translate that back into sort of an idea of a built form. And so all of this analysis about the site and some of these discussions that we had internally and with family members that are veterans, with coworkers that are veterans, started to inform a way of thinking about this site in a way that we could provide a variety of experiences that are linked together along this path that Matthew had just spoke about. And this rendering here, to orient everybody, off here to the right is the parking lot. Where we are right now is sort of off into the upper right. And you can see this sort of variety of uses that I'll talk more about along this path, and how the symbolic meaning of those reinforces these ideas of service, education, and really the power of sort of the collective of that service and honor. So these are really diagrammatic views, but this is actually how we presented this project and the concept for it to the board and to the city as we were pursuing this project. So this linear idea really starts at the parking lot. So you have this existing really kind of threshold of trees that exists right now. Like Matthew said, we're really trying to heighten all of the good things that are already existing on this site and weave this project into those in a very meaningful way. So we can take those existing trees and start to think of those as like, this is the point of entry. This is where you are starting the experience of this memorial. There will be a wayfinding piece where there's probably also going to be some donor recognition here at the entry that sort of sets the table for people to understand what they're about to experience here. So a key aspect, we're looking toward the south here right now, a key aspect in the development of this that really I think was a springboard for developing the design was the idea that there would be two paths as a part of this memorial. The path of a veteran and the path of family and friends. As Michael had talked about some of our conversations with veteran colleagues, they had a lot of discussion about while they were serving, feeling, wanting to feel connected back to their families who were at home, and how even though they may be remote, they were always present in their mind. And so this idea of two separate paths that you can't really cross between them. You're separated by this landscape barrier and the armature that I'll talk a little bit more about. That this kind of reinforces this idea that veterans, all of those supporting them, all of the community is really meant to be a part of this. So one idea that started to emerge was this idea of threads. Because one aspect that a lot of our veteran colleagues were talking about was the symbolism of the flag, and that as being sort of a unifying element, no matter the branch of service, no matter where they served or when they served, but the idea that the flag is a central symbol to the service that they had. So this was a very early sketch of this idea about 6 threads. So you can think of these threads symbolically as representing the branches of the military. And this was just a little paper model that we created while we were just exploring these design ideas and how the flag can become a part of this larger gesture within the landscape. Now, these symbolic threads, when we think about the service and the sort of power of collective service to each other, to veterans, to the country, we began to think about how these threads could become an armature for something. And this idea emerged of tags. So you can think of these as dog tags in a literal sense, or you can think about them as medals, but this armature becomes where these individual tags start to be suspended. And I think Kate's actually going to talk a little bit more about this later as well. And how, like Michael had said earlier, education being a huge part of this memorial, that we wanted to look at how we could engage all generations. Whether you're a Korean War vet who's visiting this site, you should find this as a meaningful place to go, or whether you're a kindergarten class who comes here with a teacher, or you're here for the farmer's market, that anybody feels like they can be a part of this and they can learn something and take away something at the level that they can understand. So we started to think about how we could tell these stories of veterans. And even when we were working with Bloomington Remembers Veterans, we heard some of these stories, and it became even more clear that telling these stories and preserving these stories is really the heart of what this project is all about. So some of the ideation that we went through was thinking about how we could engage technology going forward and how we could capture these stories of the veterans, messages from family members to veterans, as a way to share and preserve these stories. And whether or not you do use a smartphone, you have access to this information, but you also, even without engaging in the technology, the symbolism of these tags is powerful in its own right, and the names can be recorded in such a way. So this is a more current prototype, I would say, of what one of these tags could look like. We're still working through the size, how they're suspended. We're tweaking the design here, but the idea that there could be information on here relevant to a veteran that's being acknowledged. But what you also see on here is an etched QR code. And what that is it gives us the ability to connect to the cloud, and we can actually access information and think about how this can grow. It's not something that's static, engraved into stone. This is something that will live on and will continue to grow and add information over time. So as we step back a little bit and think more about all of the elements on the site and the symbolism of those elements, as you start to move down this soldier's path, there are these round benches that line the left side here. They're stone benches with a circular element that actually has the insignia of each of the branches. And so they're arranged in the order of the founding of those branches. And these are meant to really be a way of acting both as an education piece and having people engage history on a number of different levels, but it's also a place to sit. And they're round so that you can either choose to look at the memorial or look at the pond. It's meant to be sort of non-hierarchical in that way. So the people that are visiting this site can choose how they want to use it. And as you go deeper into the site, now you see the flagpole. And this view sort of shows how these elements are connected. These threads become the flagpole. And the flagpole is really a place of ceremony. And so we're envisioning this as sort of a central node of this entire memorial. And what's great about this, as Matthew had talked earlier, the city has such a beautiful lawn out here, and it can host events. And so we see this as something that can become this new way of bringing activity to the site, and we can utilize what's already there and actually make this a place of ceremony. So you could imagine a Veterans Day or Memorial Day event happening here on the site, and really bringing people into the site and making this as much of an embedded place in the community as it should be as a Veterans Memorial. And then Matthew had talked a little bit about this outdoor room. And what we mean by that is, and maybe as you guys are leaving, go outside and check it out. But at the end of that path, there's actually this little square area of sidewalk. And right now it's sort of partially enclosed by some trees. We're envisioning something that actually makes that much more intimate. So adding some additional landscaping to create this outdoor room that's more of a place of solitude and reflection. We've also been talking a lot about how this entire memorial can be thought of a little bit as a tool for healing. And one aspect that we've had discussions with the board about lately that's really interesting and innovative as we think about memorial design is that this place, as being a place of reflection, can also be a place where people can have access to resources. Veteran suicide is a huge problem, and so we've begun some discussions with the board about how we can even use like QR codes or things like that to make people who visit this space be able to connect to the larger network of how how they can find help for some of the things they might be dealing with. Here's a view back toward the memorial. Just some other views moving around here. So this sort of sculptural element is woven into this landscape, and the landscape would be planted with some native Minnesota grasses. So think of like the prairie grasses that were native to this place before major settlement. Again, trying to tie back to that idea that even when soldiers are serving abroad, they're connected to what's going on at home. And a view looking toward the pond. So you get these really interesting sort of perspectives as you move around it. And it becomes this kind of filter and layer between the surrounding landscape and the tags themselves. And we see this as something that would function year-round as well. So here's a view sort of looking at this memorial in its entirety. And the piece that we didn't really talk about yet is what you can see at the terminus of the soldier's path right now. So what this is a lit element that is meant to really be an open-ended symbol for those who visit the site. We've had some discussions with a few of our veteran friends, and this was not meant to be something that we were trying to give a meaning to, but rather seeing this as something that every veteran can give their own meaning to what they see this as a symbol of. And so here, what we want to show next is a little summary video. And this is also available on the website. And I apologize if some of you have seen this a lot of times, but honestly, every time I see this, I get something new out of it as we listen to the voices of some of the veterans of Bloomington here.
Every veteran has a story. Veterans have had a profound impact on the world we live in. From the Civil War to contemporary operations around the globe, to service on the home front. The time has come for veterans to have a memorial in Bloomington to honor, remember, and share their stories.
The Bloomington Veterans Memorial will be located on the east lawn of the Civic Plaza.
The memorial is conceived as a sequence of experiences arranged along a path with embedded symbolism, distinct programmatic elements, and the capacity to host groups and individuals of all ages in a process of learning, honoring, and reflection. As a visitor enters the memorial, the landscape reveals two parallel paths towards the south and the flag beyond.
Two symbolic walking paths, one for the veteran and the other for the family.
6 threads, representing the 6 branches of the armed forces, form a structure embedded into a landscape of plantings native to Minnesota. This interconnected sculptural element is a visible extension of the flagpole and forms an armature for storytelling where it emerges from the landscape. Each veteran's story and the sacrifices of each veteran family is directly tied to the symbol of the American ideal, the flag, and the freedoms we have as Americans.
Individual recognition will be provided through symbolic dog tags hanging from the armatures.
Tags move with the passage of time, wind, and seasons, like leaves on this natural site, and carry the stories of veterans connected in their collective service to the country. 6 illuminated stone benches are set alongside the path of service, each configured around a seal of one of the branches of the military, arranged in the order of their founding. The paths of service and support converge in a small plaza around the flagpole, a place of homecoming, where veterans and their loved ones are reunited in body and spirit. The flag is the centerpiece of the memorial, the backdrop for community activities and gatherings, and the visible connection to the stories of Bloomington's veterans. Along with the ability to host outdoor events, this proposal integrates places for quiet reflection and remembrance. At the terminus of the paths is a symbolic light that reflects the spirit of both those who serve and those who support.
The memorial will not only honor and pay tribute to the service members and their families, but be a place to aid in the healing of those who have borne the full burden of service.
We are seeking your support in this endeavor, whether by volunteering or assisting in the fundraising efforts.
Help us to build the Bloomington Veterans Memorial.
Your investment will tell veterans, both living and deceased, we see you, we care about you, and we honor you. Please visit our website for details on how to get involved.
So before I hand it back over to the Bloomington Remembers Veterans folks, I just want to say how exciting this project is for this design team and how much we've really enjoyed working with Bloomington and with Bloomington Remembers Veterans. And the input of all these people that are contributing to this is making this stronger. It's making this design better. And it's just really exciting to think about this as becoming a very unique destination, a memorial that is going to go beyond Bloomington. We're hoping that this is something that will become sort of a standard, a new standard of veterans memorials, and something that people will come from a long ways away to visit. So thank you.
I want to thank Michael, Dan, and Matt for all the help they've given us since they were selected as the designers and architects for this project. They have been absolutely true partners in every sense of the word. Every time we've needed to talk to folks and explain what the memorial's all about, they've been there for us. If you noticed, I like telling the story, so I'm going to take a minute to do it. If you saw on the slide where they showed a lot of their work, you saw the World War II Museum in Washington, D.C. on the mall. And my son's a lieutenant colonel in the Marine Corps. And we were out to visit him over Thanksgiving. And he's very interested in the memorial. He's always the first person to like everything on Facebook. Our social media director can tell you that. He's always first. I don't know what he does during the day to serve our country, but he always likes our spots. And he has a 4-year-old daughter. And Thanksgiving Day, I am showing him the video that you just saw. And 4-year-old granddaughter Clara climbs up between us. We're sitting on a little couch. And she's watching the video. And I think she was kind of disappointed that we weren't watching cartoons or something, but that's irrelevant. She takes a look at it, it finishes, she gets down. 2 days later, we're at the mall going through the memorials, and we get to the World War II memorial, and there's all these beautiful fountains, and she walks up to me, and she says, "Papa, you gonna have fountains on your memorial?" I said, "No, sweetie, I don't think so." She looks at me and she goes, "That's a mistake." The Bloomington Remembers Veterans is mostly composed of veterans. I think we have 8 out of our 12 board members are veterans. Our advisory board, I think, is 100% veterans. And I'm not a veteran, but the veterans on our committee, the veterans of Bloomington deserve this memorial. They are so matter-of-fact about their service. It doesn't matter where they served. It doesn't matter what medals or ribbons they won. It doesn't matter what conflict they fought in. Every member of our board we had a job to do, we did it, and now we want to be part of this memorial. And they kind of take that attitude to working to get this project completed. Having said that, they don't deserve to come up here and beg for money to get this done. But that's the element fact. We're going to have to raise a lot of money very quickly. So that becomes my job. We need the business community in Bloomington to step up and help us. Of course, we need financial help. But we also need in-kind services. We need event support. We need ideas that we haven't even thought of yet. These are all important things to getting a community project off the ground. It's a wonderful design. It is so innovative, and it is going to be so long-lasting that this is going to be, I think people are going to look at this memorial and from other towns and say, well, why didn't we do this? Because it is so innovative, and it gives the veteran a chance to tell his story. But without business, this won't happen. And we really need business support. And like I said, it's not all financial, big part of it, but truly, 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 it is just coming together as a community and supporting us financially, in kind, helping us with events, giving us ideas and platforms that we don't have currently. We need all that. So like I said, I am shamelessly begging, we need your support. So thank you for hearing my story, and thank you for letting me beg at you a little bit. But we do have some very important news, and that is the dog tags that you've heard so much. We are using this meeting to unveil how those can be purchased and how the veterans can be honored. So I'm going to ask Kate Blessing to come up here, because if anybody deserves some time in front of you for getting this done, it was an amazing, amazing effort. Well, I kind of threw this on her on Thursday of last week, and here it's Thursday of this week, and she put all this together for this section of our conversation with you, and she did a phenomenal job. And I also have to thank Melissa Worst-Prasad, who is a member of our board, who kind of helped us out with the slides and getting everything prepared so that we didn't look, Duane and I didn't come up here and look like a couple of bozos. Her father passed, and she wasn't able to make it today. So I'm going to turn things over and help out, and Duane can come up and help out. We're going to talk a little bit about the dog tags as what they are, what they represent, and Kate?
So, as we've said again and again, the dog tags are really an extension of the memorial and a way to do something kind of new and innovative with that educational piece, which is share the stories of the veterans, either first person in their words, telling stories about their time serving, or maybe they've passed and it's their family that's sharing those stories, fond memories, proud moments that they shared throughout their lives as well. And so, we wanted to start to help people understand what is that going to look like. So we're really familiar with walking up to a wall and seeing a name on the wall, and that will obviously be there. But then there's this other piece, this QR code. And we have one person on the committee affectionately calling it a UPC code. So we're still, doing some education around that. But what it will be is this chance to come up to the memorial, scan your phone, and see it. And so I think Terry is bringing it up. So we wanted to start to say, okay, what does this look like? Okay, what are we got going here? Oh, and then slash profile. Is it not? Oh, no.
Yeah. Did I misspell it?
Maybe do www. Does that matter? No, I think you got it. Yeah, do you want to hand those out? Okay. All right, in the meantime, okay, this is good, Duane. There you go.
Just
While you're waiting, how many dog tags will those threads be able to hold? What if we get
gentlemen?
overwhelmed with
Maybe that's it.
dog tags? Will there be enough?
Yeah, but it's come up. I can't. Not connected.
Yeah, so we're currently working through some of the details of that, and we can adjust the design of the memorial. But the idea is that we want to leave enough room on this that we're not going to run out of space in the near future. So we're still working through those details as we're looking at the detail of the design. But I think you're exactly correct that we want to make sure we have the capacity to handle everyone that wants to be involved in this.
Great question.
We did do some quick math at how long were they and then how many would fit on there, and it is a considerable amount that would fit there. So we would be blessed if we were trying to fill it all up.
All one size rather than $500 one and a $200 one.
Correct. All should be equal up there. If you want to give $100 for one or $500 for one, that's just fine. And I wanted to talk a little bit about why a QR code too is when I talked about adaptability to change, it's also that ability to add. I've seen a lot of memorials where names are carved in stone, and when they're done, they stand back and go, oops, misspelled that name. That's a problem, you know, in something like that. This allows you to make any corrections easily. It also allows you to add to that story. You may find people watch some of these and go, oh, I would like to speak to my father or my mother or my whoever that is that served, and they could add that in there, and that would be really easy to do. And I think it'd be really astounding to sit back and watch how much it grows in content and stories.
So would it only be audio or would there be video component as well if you scan the QR code? Mr. Mayor, just wait.
That was the perfect
We're
segue.
working on it, but thank you for shilling my question.
Thanks for the setup.
It's beautifully done.
Well, while they're
Politicians are good, aren't they? Yeah.
while they're getting this set up, you know, it's I'm a little surprised that there hasn't been a memorial in Bloomington to this date, given the military service history and the size of the community. But it gives you an opportunity to really design something that is, takes in the past and understands the future. When it was the QR code piece, I thought, oh my gosh, a couple of years ago, I'm like, these are going nowhere for individuals. And then the pandemic hit, and everybody had to figure out how to use a QR code and that sort of thing. But the process, the intentionality of placemaking in terms of the community, really appreciated in terms of the thought and engagement that you put into this, because it is meaningful. And I know some people have asked, well, why is the business community, why is the chamber advocating and supporting and being a part of this? And they're not just the need for businesses employ veterans. There's a huge support network that already exists within Bloomington businesses. But as a part of the quality of life in a community, a part of that intentionality around the sense of community in place, this is an integral part. And I think that you guys have done a great job of incorporating that into the vision.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's not working over there either.
No. Thank you.
Bing.
That might be it, is it? But it's we don't have internet, so that's our problem.
Let's see, try to, yeah.
No, I think the first time I did it, Doc.
I was thinking you did, but
Well, doing something now. Ben, thank you. Let's see if this works. There we go.
That
we're up.
technology.
All right.
Sucks. There we go.
All right. So we wanted to start to show people what would a page look like when you went out to the online portal. And so last week we had a great advisory board meeting. Feel free to.
We had an advisory board meeting, and we invited these nice gentlemen to come and talk to our board of directors and our advisory board. And we had a very good meeting, and a gentleman named Bob just stood up and told a story that was absolutely incredible. And it kind of like put everybody's, and when the meeting was over, I said to him, that's what we need. Those are the stories that we want to get out. Remember, one of the tenets of this memorial is education. And what better way to get an education than to talk to digitally and hear the words of the veteran? I'm going to hand it back over to Kate because she did this entire project getting Bob to record, and it was absolutely terrific. So explain what we got going here.
All right. So you scan the QR code, and the reason for this paper is so people can start to understand. I scan the QR code, I go to this site, and here would be my loved one. So we've got Bob. Bob was in the Navy. He was a trumpet player in the Navy. And so I think a lot of times people understand what you do when you're working in some of these key areas. But what does it mean to be a musician in the armed forces, right? And so we really wanted to get that information. And so when he shared that story, it was really, really lovely. And so we were able to capture it here. So let's hear from Bob directly.
My name is Bob Works. I served my country as a Navy musician from 1960 to 1964. I was a trumpet player in the Navy, and I served out at sea as well as at naval stations. And one of our jobs as a member of a trumpet section in one of these unit bands is that we would play taps for military funerals. And so we find ourselves remembering now back to the day when I was in Charleston, South Carolina. My turn came up to play taps for this deceased soldier. And the rifle squad and I set off that day in this van, and we were traveling. And I asked one of the rifle squad members, where are we going? Because it was obvious we're nowhere near a cemetery. And then all of a sudden we came upon these two elderly black men that were digging this hole in this scrub brush area with tall grasses and tough terrain. And it just didn't look like what we'd imagined. And we know that he was a black man. And we also know that blacks are not permitted to be buried in a cemetery in Charleston. That just was a shocking realization for me, and it saddened me. And I grabbed my trumpet and I played as tenderly and as peaceful as I could for this fellow that served his country. And here he is stuck in this really ugly area. And it reminds me of what our country was founded on. We were founded on this idea that we're all equal. But yet today in 2022, there are some people who are more equal than others.
So that's an example of the kind of learning that will happen, the kind of education that'll happen, the jumping off point to learn more about what was happening during these times, during these conflicts, during these points of history. Maybe you go deeper and you want to learn more, and you've got your cell phone now, so you can go deeper. So I'm envisioning a high school student. There's another clip here below this that Bob did about being on a vessel in the middle of the ocean during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and people kind of saying, tomorrow's the big day, we'll see how it goes. And he's sitting there going, how did I get myself into this, right? And I think anyone who served in the military, especially during a conflict, probably has a story like that. We've got Mr. Dardis here chuckling knowingly, and I think that's if I'm a 11th grader in high school and I don't know a lot about the Cuban Missile Crisis, I've got my cell phone. I'm going to dig into that, and I'm going to figure out what that's all about and why that matters and what was going on during that time. And then even below that, we have the ability to share some photos. And so we've got pictures of Bob playing in the band. This is Bob here on the end, and just kind of sharing those moments and those special images as well. So it really allows a family to create this profile, to have these conversations. As I was talking with Bob the other day, the thing that was really neat to me was he said that while he was putting this together, his daughter happened to call, and they had never had the opportunity to talk about this story of him playing taps for this gentleman who didn't quite get the military burial that he thought we all think he should deserved, right? And so it wasn't that the daughter didn't care. It wasn't that he wasn't willing to share it, but they just never had. And so this was a really great opportunity for them to sit down and to share a moment, and for her to get a glimpse into what kinds of activities and things he was a part of. So I thought it was just a really great start at us starting to understand what this can be and what it will be. And that made us all really excited, I think. Yes, thank you, Terry.
I really want to congratulate two groups for the design of this memorial. First of all, the gentleman behind me from Leo A. Daly to coming up with this concept with the armatures and the dog tags and the personal remembrances. And then I want to congratulate the veterans who, we did form a veterans committee to select the design and went through with the 22 applicants that put together. And they did an incredible job because, you know, I'll be honest with you, they're not the most tech-savvy guys in the world, but they just saw the future in this, and they saw the remembrance, and they saw what families can get involved with. Think about this, putting together this website, what could this do to a family? Bob's story about his daughter, never hearing that story. But this could be a family project. If it's a deceased veteran, the families are going to be making the video or making the web page come to life. Think of what that is going to be for families. And think of it when we have school children out at the memorial. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. Kids have phones. My wife's a kindergarten paraprofessional. She's fighting the phone battle in class all the time. They've got them. They know how to use them. And they're going to learn quite a bit. That's a very poignant story. And I think when we, just to show where this country is and where we've been, I think it's the best one to start with to show folks. And unless anybody else has anything else to say, we're kind of getting close on time, so we will be here after to handle your questions. And but I want to thank all of you for coming in and giving us this time to talk about the memorial. And if there is a quick question or two, I think we have like 3 minutes.
Parking.
Huh?
Parking. You know, the 2 lots and how crowded it can be on a Saturday.
Yeah. Jim, I really doubt that's in our purview. That, you know, the farmers market, they can make it work. I think we can too. I
know we're up against time, but I want to thank everybody for this impressive work and communicating about it. Great chamber members, Leo A. Daly and Damon Farber, and the work that you've put into this. And the committee, I think the one thing that I'd like to leave with before I close out is where you are now in terms of a timeline moving forward from a construction and funding piece. You've all heard the expression, freedom isn't free. Well, neither is this memorial. We need funds to make it happen, right? And so tell us where we are and what we need to be doing, date certain, or because you want to get this done a year and a half from now, right, or less than a year.
Yeah, our goal was sometime next summer, but I think it's probably more reasonable to assume that we would love to have it like just before Veterans Day 2023, and hopefully we have a nice October that year, and we can make that work. We are actively campaigning for funds right now. We don't have anywhere near what we need to get it completed. We're going after a lot of different avenues for funding, grants, bonding, businesses. The dog tags are a big piece of it. So we're working really hard to get it done. And I do believe to get to this point, it took a long time. COVID hurt us, but it took a long time. I think it's going to start happening very, very quickly. And if we can get businesses support, by gosh, this will come to fruition, and the memorial will be right behind us by that time frame. So looking like late October, November of 2023, and we'll have our Veterans Day celebration right here, snow or not.
Well, thank you all very much. This is, Bloomington is a great community in so many ways, and business in particular, and we'll help keep spreading the word. And I hope you all do that, whether you're here in person or virtually watching. So thank you all for your time and information this morning. Just a couple quick notes on some things coming up. Chamber World, we have tomorrow a community cleanup. It started with the Northeast Chamber, but we're doing it the first time in Bloomington. It's called Weed It and Sweep, a community cleanup, a couple hour shifts by the Bloomington Chamber office, which is on 900 American Boulevard East. So if you're interested, check that out. We have a critical issues forum on workforce. Everybody I talk to in the working world has challenges in the workforce world right now. So that's Tuesday morning, May 10th at Minneapolis College, also known as MCTC for those of us older like me. And if you are any Twins fans, we do our annual Welcome Home Twins Luncheon Friday the 13th in partnership with the St. Paul Area Chamber. So if you're interested, please check that out as well. So thank you again to our presenters, to this project, to our sponsors for doing this. And thank you all for being here. Enjoy your weekend, and we hope to see you soon. Take care.